Shalom. So Jacob worked 7 years for his wife. What is the importance of that? The importance of cohabiting is that you can avoid making a lot of mistakes. You can avoid making another poor decision, right? When you live with a person, it gives you the advantage of knowing the person inside out, right? You know how they are when they get upset, you know their reaction to certain things, you know their triggers, their wounds, everything. All right? Now, what we have today is we have most visiting relationships, and in a visiting relationship, you'll never really know a person. You have to be sleeping with the person, waking up with the person, and spending time throughout the day with the person, right? Because in that case, what happened is that there's no form of pretense, right? In a visiting relationship, the ego has all the time it wants to pretend. So if you're only seeing a person on weekends or every other week or something, guess what? That's quite okay for the ego. It doesn't feel trapped, right? You get to know a person when that ego becomes vulnerable, when it feels trapped. It cannot pretend anymore. So whatever is beneath the surface will come out, right? Now, dealing with cohabiting back then is very different from today, because today we don't really have much. We don't really own anything anymore, right? So for example, you know, Jacob could dwell with his uncle. They could stay in separate rooms. We don't really have much of that today, right? It's really just apartments mainly. Most of us do have, right? But then when we go to somebody's house, you would have a guest room where you could stay, and the daughter would be on this side, and the son would the guy would be on the other side. They're separate, but they still dwell together under the same roof on the same property. And what the father would be doing now, or whoever the man is in the household, he would take the guy with him to whatever he's doing on the farm, taking care of the animals or the plants and so forth. Um, Back in the 70s coming up, what the fathers would do is that when they take the guy to the bush, right, they'd give him a cane, like a sugar cane, and they'll observe what he gives to the daughter, right? The cane, the bottom is sweeter, the top is fresh, right? So if he starts eating the bottom piece of the cane, then you would know that man is not good for your daughter. All right? And also another thing that they would use is, because back then we used to use a lot of wood. We didn't have all this electricity and gas stove and all of those things. So we used to cut a lot of woods back then. So they would give him the axe and the wood and see his ability to do these things. Because if you're gonna give your daughter to somebody, you want to know that he can actually take care of her, right? So they would see his ability to do things. So they would look for that masculine thing in them, to say, yes, this man can manage to take care of our daughter. So yes, we can give her to him, give the hand in marriage and so forth. So all of those things, by cohabiting, you would know that, okay, I'm making a good decision here, and it prevents a lot of, you know, bad decision, like I said, because no, we don't really go through that process of knowing a person. We just get involved, and then whatever happens after actually happens, and then we're left to deal with that, because we did not go about it using the proper wisdom. We went about it based on how we feel. So if we like a person, are attracted, or anything, well, if it's an infatuation, whatever it is, we go directly for it. right? We don't look into anything, what can be or what might not have been, and so forth, right? It prevents a lot of us from getting stuck in relationships, and that's what really happening. No, it happens a lot of us are stuck, a lot of us are just settling because we did not go about a relationship using the proper wisdom, right? We just see a person, like the person, and boom, we get into it, right? Now, one of the key things that cohabiting helps to fix is trust issues. A lot of us have that trust issue, and you don't have to, something from the opposite gender didn't have to happen. We are naturally born with it, right? We don't have that trust for the opposite gender. That's natural. It doesn't have to be a personal experience, right? So when you're cohabiting with a person, it actually helps to get rid of this trust issue, because your brain is going to learn that, okay, this person is reliable, I can trust this person, he or she does not have a fault. So the cohabiting is important for that. You build trust over a process of time, right? Another thing that it does with on the side of the female is that it helps you to be more feminine, because in a case where you would naturally be doing everything for yourself, that person is always going to be around to help take care of things. So he's not gonna ask you, should I do this or what. He's just gonna be that masculine person to do what is necessary, because it's a masculine trait to see what needs to be done and do it. So having a man around like that, yes, he's going to take care of what he knows is his responsibility, right? He doesn't need to ask you, and then naturally your brain will be learning that I can trust this person. I can step back a little and allow him to be, allow him to do what he needs to do, or take care of what he needs to take care of around the place. So cohabiting helps to get rid of trust issue. It helps to build intimacy, right? And that is what a lot of us don't really have. We don't have that intimacy. Even in our romantic relationships, we are not really intimate with each other, right? It's hard to be intimate when there is no trust. It's hard to be intimate when there is no actual love, no real love is present, because we're just really going through emotion, right? So we are disconnected. Even in our relationship, we're disconnected from our emotions, we're disconnected from the person that we're with, we're disconnected from even ourselves sometimes, right? So this cohabiting helps to create that environment for us, and our brain will start to learn something different. So cohabiting is very important, and you waste less of your time also, right? When you're in a visiting relationship, you can spend 5, 10, 15 years, you can spend forever in a visiting relationship, because it's not so real, right? Meaning you don't get to see the other side of the person that you're with. You're only seeing the part that the person is displaying, because like I said, the ego gets time to pretend. So you can always make a show every time you see each other, right? So it's important to cohabit, so you can prevent wasting too many years, you know, and other things like that. Shalom.